Whoops. You call this end disc versus tube.
And the tube loses?
Tube loses. That's the type of an end on a cardboard tube that one would marry if one was so inclined to marry the end of a cardboard tube.
Match made in heaven. Very nice.
I can show you the inside of this thing too. Take this apart.
All right, so we're going to go over the pizza cutter for the lathe to cut tools.
I made this up on the milling machine. These two surfaces are surface ground nice and flat and parallel to each other. Some old bearings I found in the junk pile, flange bearings. You can see how the flange here's the bearings. And then the shaft was made up that fits inside the bearings. And there's a nut and a washer that goes on the other side. I'll show you how to adjust the preload in a second, but you can see how that would turn. And this blade was nothing but a 30-second wide slitting saw, something similar to this, with the teeth ground off it at a slight angle. You can see there's a slight angle on the thing. All it is a 30-second saw blade with the teeth ground off it.
Yeah, we saw teeth on the left one, and then you see the angle ground on the right one.
Now to adjust your preload, that's to adjust the clearance in the bearings, because you can, if you don't have, I'll show you how I do it. With this set up like so, and you tighten this, you tighten the screw on the end, which rests on the inside race there, and the other side pulls up on the inside race. You have to have a way so that you can tighten this screw and have it tight, but yet you don't want to have too much preload through the bearing. So what you do, you got to figure out what the proper dimensions is, but this spacer in here like so goes like so. That's been determined and surface ground down to the proper thickness, so that when you put your gravity wins.
Yep.
Now you can crank on this thing and really make it tight. It limits the amount of movement on the inside races of the bearing, which would be a nice fit. You could basically get the idea how I adjust the preload on that. It's by varying the thickness of that spacer. You could also vary the thickness of this. But this was a given. I made everything to this thickness. Yeah.
Excellent. You're gonna put the wheel on now?
Yep.
The pizza cutter. Down.
Little flange made up. Again, this surface here was done in a lathe, then it was put down. Both of these were put down on a surface grounder, and this surface was ground parallel to these sides here, so that you know the flanges were pretty good. But you can basically see how it goes. I'm missing a. Here it is. I'm not.
Washer.
Yeah, I'm not missing, but that's basically how that thing works.
There it is. And that's what we saw, cutting those nice tubes.
So there's a project for somebody if they want to make a pizza cutter for their lathe or whatever. That's how I took the clearance out. There are other ways to do it too, but this is just basically what I did with what I had laying around when I went to the junk pile and picked out some old used bearings that were no good for what they were being used for, but they're absolutely fine for what I was doing. And that's just basically what happened.
Repurposing.
Yep, that's it.
I like repurposing. Perfect. Now I need a lathe.
And a mill. Ned, you got to get yourself a lathe.
Excellent.
Now I can crank on this. And it's still.
Now it's all tight. Yep.
Just a little bit of drag, not much, just a little bit. There is, when this is locked solid, there is no wobble on this thing here. It's obviously the blade you can deflect a little teeny bit because it's only a 32nd wide, but there is no clearance in this assembly right here. So it's a very basic thing. Anybody with some thought could make one of these with absolutely no problems if you have the equipment to do it.
Perfect.
Good. Well, this